Hear that? Is that America cheering or a sausage patty sizzling to perfection? It's time to cheer for Egg McMuffin and fresh cracked eggs at McDonald's. It's time to wake up to the aroma of freshly baked biscuits and treat yourself to a real honest-to-goodness morning meal. Breakfast, it's on at McDonald's. Now enjoy a large iced coffee for just $2. Add a breakfast sandwich to make a meal. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
This is John Silver, lead recruiter of the Dark Order, and you are listening to All Things Elite.
Welcome to the 123rd episode of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite. My name is Austin Sumwitz, and I am the host of this lovely show. Joining with me, as always, is my good buddy and friend Floyd Johnson Jr. My man, how you doing?
Dude, I am doing well. As I'll talk about later, Full Gear tickets pre-sale was today. I got fourth row. I'm going to give all the credit to Tiffany because I was never a floor guy before. I always tried to get in the hundreds. I just wasn't a floor guy, and she got me first row to the show, and now it caused my addiction, and I've had some great seat luck. I got fourth row. Our frequent collaborator, JR, got second row. And so, yeah, we're just going to be at the show. We're going to be having a good time. Full Gear in Minnesota. I didn't think, it sold surprisingly well today. Like I said, I'll talk about it more later. But it did sell surprisingly well today, considering I don't consider, Minneapolis, this destination city.
Yeah, I think it's just because, like I said, like people have said, Full Gear is one of those top pay-per-views that AEW has. And at the same time, too, I think there's a bit of hope that by the time Full Gear comes around, I think a lot of people want Adam Page to come back. So if Hangman comes back for Full Gear, since, it is the pay-per-view named after the joke that was running with him on being the Elite, I think that would be a big reason as to why it sold very well. Plus, AEW has just been really good recently.
I mean, CM Punk's always going to be hot in the Midwest.
My boy.
Yeah, so Minneapolis is still that area. Bryan Danielson coming back off that hot Kenny Omega match. I imagine some people think that they might do the match again. There's a lot of reasons to go, to the AEW show. It's just, like I said, Minneapolis, I'm really excited about going to the Mall of America. I don't know how many other people are excited about that. As far as I'm oh yeah, I'm going because of the Mall of America. And then I have some people that have been to every show that are yeah, I'm going, I'm out on this one. And I know people have lives, but I feel like the last Full Gear that wasn't in Jacksonville was in Baltimore. And it ended up, I think, getting close, if not selling out, but because it's Baltimore and it's not really a destination town, it didn't sell out as fast as Chicago or Chicago. I guess all the other pay-per-views have been in Chicago,
or the Jacksonville show for Double or Nothing.
Yeah, because I remember the first. Yeah, it was Vegas, in Chicago. So it's almost not even fair to put Minneapolis on that area because it's Vegas and Chicago. That's just not fair. But
yeah. But anyways, I will just give a little nod of like what's going on with me since we tend to do like little updates. So Floyd got floor seats for Full Gear, which is awesome. I will not be there because I've been very busy with work. However, I did get Floyd. Are you familiar with ESPN NFL 2K5?
Yes, I am familiar with that.
That is the best football game ever created. I got that working on my PC and got it to work with updated rosters. Now, the rosters basically mean like they take the characters, the players from Madden and take their stats from Madden and then just place it in 2K5. But oh my God, it's so much fun. I'm currently running a Lions franchise mode and it's been a fucking blast playing that game again.
Well, I don't cheat on Madden. I don't do it.
You should, because it's a piece of shit.
Madden is the best game series ever invented, and the best Madden is whatever Madden's coming next. So that's how I am. I drink the Kool-Aid. I am a WWE. I mean, you know how people say they call them Vincels. I am a Madden cell. It's all about Madden. It's the only game I play. Playing it right now. I'm not like right now while we're on our phone, but often right now. And yeah, I even made the Lions good, which is a miracle because they're the Lions.
There you go. Appreciate that. But with that out of the way, we got a lot to talk about with AEW on this week's episode of All Things Elite because it was Grand Slam week. So we had 4 SmackDown-related episodes. No, that's a weird thing that I actually pulled out. I was just going to say slamming. I don't know why I went with SmackDown. We had 4 crazy hours of wrestling with AEW this week with Grand Slam. We're going to get to all of that. But before we get into everything, I want to make sure you guys are downloading this fine show on Google or Apple Podcasts. If you listen to us on Spotify or any other podcasting platform, give us a share with your friends, family, coworkers, whoever you wish. And you can also leave a rating and review. Let us know how we're doing. And you can leave a donation through our podcast provider, Red Circle, if you're so inclined. We would really appreciate that. Easiest way to support us is on social media. We are at AT Elite Pod on Twitter, at Social Suplex. Those are the guys that make this show possible. And they have a ton of other shows you should absolutely check out on their network. I am at Austin Sumowitz, SZUMOWICZ. Floyd is at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. Now, the big news of the week, honestly, I would say is, first, of course, with tickets going on sale with Full Gear. But I would also say, Floyd, it's big news for your boy because we're recording this the Tuesday before Dynamite. Tomorrow is the debut of Roads to the Top on TNT.
All right, so I can use this moment to announce with Roads to the Top debuting tomorrow. And starting next week, we're going to have a weekly segment where Tiffany reviews everything that happens on Roads to the Top because we are all things elite. Now, I do want to let you know about this. I personally don't plan on watching the show. That is why I have outsourced this for it. It's one of those weird things where I hate reality TV, like all of it. And I definitely tend to stay away from wrestling reality TV because after watching reality TV, I generally hate the people that are being covered in reality TV. And you know how I feel about my Cody. I love them. So I am going to do the best thing for my fandom and not watch the show. But that's just me. That's just me. Someone's like, I had some parents like, well, you love AEW, you love Cody. And I'm like, yes. I also love Emeril Lagasse. And if I went to see Emeril Lagasse at the restaurant, he said, Floyd, all I have to serve for you is liver. I'm going to say, you know what, Emeril Lagasse, I'm going to go ahead and pass. And I'm going to go eat some McDonald's or something. Because I don't like liver. And I don't care what you do to it in your Emeril Lagasse way. I'm not going to like liver. That's my comparison or analogy for reality TV. As much as I love AEW and I love Cody and I love Brandy and I want them to be super successful and I want this to be the highest rated show in the hour, yeah, all I'm going to do is DVR it. My wife may watch it, but I am going to support the show as much as I can without ever, watching it.
Well, I've been exposed to the wrestling reality TV shows, at least a majority of them. So I've seen at least a couple episodes of Total Divas. I've seen a little bit of Ms. and Mrs. I've seen a little bit of Total Bellas. And I don't like any of them, if that makes any sense. So I will still be watching the debut of Roads to the Top, mainly because I hope that there's a little bit more focus on their lives in wrestling as opposed to their lives outside of wrestling, besides their kid and everything like that. And if there's not much like that, then I'll tune out of it. But again, I look at this way, is that TNT has absolutely bought into AEW as a brand, AEW as a product, and especially Turner has bought into Cody being one of their biggest stars, with him being on the TBS Go Big show, and with him having his own show with Brandy on this. It's Brandy and Cody's show. So I see this as a win for AEW, but for people who don't like reality TV, I think it's fair to say you could probably skip this. And if you already didn't like Cody, you sure as hell weren't going to watch this anyway.
Oh my God. So yeah, that's my whole thing. It's going to work one way or another. It's either going to make everybody love Cody or further hate Cody.
Which we'll get to the hate of Cody soon.
Yes, but I just like I said, watch the show if you're into that kind of thing. It's not my thing personally. Honestly, I can see this happening. I'll be watching the show and the show will end and I won't have anything to turn it on and it'll just keep playing and I'll end up watching some of it. I'm not just oh my God, I'm going to make sure my town is turned as soon as it's over. It's really not my thing. It's just a type of TV I don't enjoy. Some of my friends don't like wrestling. I get it because there's certain types of TV I don't enjoy, but we're going to have Tiffany, the Ace, the Cody, the number one Cody fan, the number one Brandy fan. She loves that family more than I think she loves Air. So she's going to be going through, breaking down what happens on the show. So maybe it'll make you want to watch the show more. Maybe it'll make you not want to watch the show. But whatever, you will hear it covered here on All Things Elite.
And if you want a decent reality TV show to watch, I suggest the one-off Bachelor season, Listen to Your Heart. It's not as filled with drama and bullshit as the rest of the seasons of the Bachelor or Bachelorette, and plus all of them are pretty good singers. So if you want to watch a music-related Bachelor show, I recommend that as the one and only okay reality TV show.
Or you can watch my favorite reality show, football.
You know what? That works. Or what's the Hard Knocks? You can watch Hard Knocks.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too. But yes. If the grown men are playing with balls, I'm watching it.
Okay. With that being said, let's get to day one of AEW Grand Slam week, and it's AEW Dynamite taking place at the sold-out Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York. We kick things off with the dream match that everybody was salivating for. The AEW World Champion Kenny Omega going one-on-one with the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. And I may, honest to God, say this was one of the first times I've seen a crowd pop so loud for a lockup. That alone just tells you how much hype was behind this match, because this was one of those matches that people would always fantasize of, but I think people were just convinced that we wouldn't see it. But now with AEW and with Bryan Danielson being All Elite, we did see it. And I think it's fair to say, for a lot of people, I know Floyd tweeted this out, and I also very much agree with him, this was probably the Dynamite match of the year, and possibly a match of the year candidate just in general with wrestling. These guys went at it for 30 minutes. They upped the time limit for this match from the usual 20-minute time limit to a 30-minute time limit, and it still went to a time limit draw. There was a bunch of shenanigans after the match was over, where the super click came in. They tried to get Danielson out and Omega separated. They super kicked him. Then Christian Cage and Jurassic Express came down. They separated everything. So that led into some other stuff, which we'll talk about later. But the match itself, these guys went at it for 30 minutes. And I mean, Floyd predicted a time limit draw. He got it right, and I was kind of thinking that's probably the route they're going, but I wanted to choose a definitive winner. But you know what? I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. These two are some of the best in AEW, like no question about it. They absolutely did such a great job. The fans were hyped for this match, the same level. I compare the hype for this match as to when CM Punk had his first match back in 7.5 years of being away from pro wrestling. The fans were hyped for every single moment. There was like even rest holds or a lockup. They were just going nuts because we just never thought we'd see the day. So, hell, you want to talk about a kickoff to Dynamite. This was fucking insanity of the way to start off the show. Like, what a start.
Yes, this match was exciting. It was one like I after a week of thinking about it, it was to me the best Dynamite match. I was live for Pac and Omega, the 30-minute Iron Man match, and I had a hard time putting this in front of it, but it really was that damn good. How the audience was into it. If you listen to the show, as you know, I did call a draw from the moment they announced the match. That was and they said it was non-title. That was my gut feeling. It's not something they bring out a lot, but it's that ace that they bring out. But I can honestly say, other than Okada and Omega, this is right there with the best draw I've ever seen. And they did it in a way where it was not this draw where, Daniel Bryan had him at 29 minutes and 54 seconds. And if he just had 10 more seconds, he would have beat him. At 30 minutes, they were staring at each other, standing up in a dead heat. This match was completely even at 30 minutes. That is brilliant storytelling. It's like, so when Kenny Omega said after the match as he's walking away, there's not going to be any rematch. And that's from Rocky, one of the greatest movie series ever.
Yes, the best.
Yes. So after they said there ain't going to be no rematch, and he walks away, and there was just this moment, and it's hanging, and it truly left you wanting. Every person I know that watches wrestling has their own opinion in fantasy booked when this next match should happen. Whenever they wrestle again, I don't think it should be a Full Gear, but because I just think you can hold on to that anticipation. It should be a long trek to Bryan Danielson finally getting his title shot, maybe at Revolution, but ignore that. This match on its own was a masterpiece, and it's hard to do a masterpiece and it be a draw. This was a masterpiece in work. You saw a little bit of everything. You saw the difference between the Yes Movement and the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. You saw the difference. He wasn't an underdog. He wasn't coming back. He was just a badass professional wrestler. And on this night, in a lot of ways, he was better than Kenny Omega. But on this night, in a lot of ways, Kenny was better than him. So it's completely even. It's a stalemate. When we get it, and hopefully we get it on pay-per-view with the hour time limit or no time limit, man, it's going to be a masterpiece. It was just this. This is the first time since Okada and Omega that I've watched a draw and didn't feel like they completely wasted my time.
Yeah, and it's that simple as that, like, people didn't want this match to end. They didn't want these two to stop wrestling. They would have been happy if it was an hour-long Iron Man match, or if it had like an hour-long time limit. They would have been fine if after the show was off the air, we would cut backstage and those two were still going at it, just kicking the shit out of each other and doing V-triggers and running bulldogs and all these kinds of things. Like they wouldn't care if they were just still going at it, and like they would watch these two wrestle all day long. And I think AEW smart. They know that people want to see this match over and over and over again, and they want to see them do everything they possibly can to use these two guys together. So whether or not we hold off from seeing these two fight again sooner rather than later, or rather we have Kenny have another AEW world title defense feud, and then like whether he loses it or retains it, and then that's when they decide to have Bryan Danielson come back into the fold with Kenny, and like if they have other ideas for Bryan past Kenny right now, and then we'll bring him back. Like, remember back when Punk talked about how like him and Daniel Bryan in WWE should be like Brett and Shawn? I think that's kind of what they're looking at with Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega right now, Brett and Shawn, because I can 100% see that between these two. Just you keep them apart. When you need them to come together, they can put together like 2 months of television, and it'll always be good and it'll always be entertaining. So I think that's 100% the mindset you can take with these two. But speaking of my boy Punk, right after this match, he speaks on AEW Dynamite, leading into his match that he's having at Rampage, which would be his first TV match in over 7 years. Straight up, he says, "I'm glad I'm not working Dynamite, because how the hell do you follow that match?" He speaks of how it's been a long time since he's been in New York City, and it's also been an even longer time since professional wrestling has been in New York City. And he talks about how people are saying, I should be mad, I need to be pissed off, we want the old CM Punk back. And his response was simply, be careful what you wish for. Hobbs, Taz made the joke that like half of these guys are from here and they don't even like you, and said, y'all tricked me. Hobbs jumped me from behind. They tried to put me through a table, and it pissed me off. But when I come out and when my music hits and I step out onto that stage, I can't help feeling the way I feel. That pissed off feeling goes away. And yes, it's a love fest. And it's very happy to be back in loving this. And I think what they attempted to do was take this all away from me. They don't want to hear Cult of Personality. They don't want happy CM Punk enjoying the fans. And then he gets mad because it's been a long time since he's felt this and that he needed this. And he screamed, nobody's taking this away from me. This is mine once again. And he said, y'all should have finished the job. You should have put me through that table. You made a mistake. You let me live. And it's not my fault you slept on the legend of CM Punk. It's not my job to wake you up. It's my job to tuck you in. Rampage, Powerhouse Hobbs goes to sleep. Great fucking promo. Such a good promo. I mean, it just... the way that he has you like leading like on every word. It's like how I mentioned a lot of Cody's best promos. Like you run on every word he says. You're just leaning on it and you're like just following him along of where he's taking you in this promo, because he talks about how like he needs to be mad, and everyone's kind of like, that's like it's a basic way of starting off. It's like you want the old CM Punk back, and then it just leads into how like, but I can't help but smile when I come out here because it's so great to be out here. And like, of course, we all know Punk normally with his promos is I think he's a lot more comfortable being a heel as opposed to a babyface, just because like heel CM Punk is like vicious. It's like so fucking good. I know a lot of people said that if Punk came back, the first thing he should do is turn heel after the ovation. And I understand that. But the way that Punk can still lure you in just by being emphatically in love with pro wrestling. And I think that's the thing. It's like you see a guy who loves pro wrestling after hating it for 7 years. And it's just, he makes it a great story. I didn't like wrestling for so long. It's been so long since I like ate and breathed pro wrestling. And I have it back, and they're trying to take it away from me. It's perfect because he said, I'm not getting this taken away from me again. And it was a great way to build up to the Powerhouse Hobbs match, which we'll talk about later in the show. And that's all you need. Like Punk talks people into wanting to see that. Because again, people, when they saw Team Taz getting brought in, except for Hook, it seemed like everyone bought in immediately to Punk versus Hook, which actually I love. But with all the other members of Team Taz, people were kind of like, should this really be what Punk's doing post Darby Allin? He sells it right then and there just from the response of what happened last week. So, I mean, fucking A+ job. Again, I can't say anything bad about this. Punk killed it tonight.
All right. I'm just going to say, hey, does anyone else listening to the show get a very Floyd talking about Cody feeling? when Austin talks about CM Punk.
I hope that I get that across because it's the exact same mindset. It's either that or you talking about FTR.
All right, so I am going to say I have literally nothing to add on this segment, so we can go to the next one. I think think you covered it pretty well, sir.
I do my best when it comes to the best in the world. Up next, we had MJF facing off against Brian Pillman Jr., and this match was very good. MJF was doing great heel work leading into this Brian Pillman Jr. match, and it put Brian in a really good spot just to have a great singles match, because while him and Griff Garrison as the Varsity Blondes has been good, I've really enjoyed them. It was nice to see Pillman actually do some singles wrestling on Dynamite in such a big crowd. This was a really, really good match. Pillman was just played a really great, this was the underdog babyface character role, with MJF just being a complete dick, and MJF was almost knocked out with a drop kick on the back. In the MJF would then quickly counter into the Salt of the Earth armbar. This was a good match, honestly. I think it's just continuing to build up MJF a little bit after he lost to Chris Jericho. And Pillman got a nice little spot right there. Just having this singles match in front of 20,000 people, I think, is awesome. And I think Varsity Blondes still have a good amount of stuff with the tag team division, I think, going down the road, especially if we get eventually a heel tag team to hold the tag team title belts that aren't the Young Bucks. I think they could do some good stuff in the tag division. But it was nice to see Pillman have this small little feud with MJF because it was genuinely really good.
All right. Well, Brian Pillman needs some offense. Brian Pillman Jr. needs some offense of his own. All his best offense is him doing his dad's moves, which is great. But he needs to define who he is as a wrestler. He has the dad look. He has the dad the wardrobe, and he does the drop kick and the air Pillman and all that stuff. And it's a great tribute to his dad. But he needs to make something that is uniquely him, because he's a bigger guy than his dad. He's got more weight on him, more mass on him than his dad. So he can add some things that are uniquely him. I feel like you answered the question about the match, so all I can do at this point is critique, because I think you covered the match well.
And that's kind of what I think for you too, because I think you tend to pick up on some of the smaller things too, which I think you're 100% right. It's there's always a comparison with when wrestlers' kids get in, how much should they take from their parents and their family members who were in the business? How much should they take and add from them and to add to themselves, and how much of their own should they make? Charlotte Flair, we literally have Braun Breaker on NXT 2.0, who's a Steiner, getting his name changed from being a Steiner to move away from that, even though he has the outfit like a Steiner.
He wrestles like his dad. He promos like his uncle.
Yes.
So
it's always the question of how much should you take from your family members and how much should you try to make your own?
But in the end, when he does that press slam, power slam, that's his move. I mean, he took it from, Goldberg was the first person I saw, but it's still his move. It's his unique finisher. It is Braun's move, right? It is what makes Braun uniquely Braun. I don't know what makes Brian Pillman Jr. a uniquely Brian Pillman Jr. He just seems like a tribute act to his dad. And this is not This is not saying anything about his personality. He's always nice. I think he has a lot of energy. I think he can cut a decent promo. It's just, why are you? I know why I liked your dad. Why am I supposed to like you? And I don't think it came through in this match as much as he would probably want it to.
Sure. And I think also leading into sticking this with AEW too, I think we need to make sure, we hope that the same issues, and not even necessarily issues, but I think we still also have Brock Anderson in AEW as well. And it's again, finding out who these people are themselves as opposed to who they're related to, I think is going to be a big thing for them to connect with the audience more than they normally can, because people will connect with them if they're related to people that they love. But we still need to like you too. So like, show us who you are, I think is what we're trying to get across with this.
Absolutely. And it's not offensive. It's more of a, hey, this is what I want to see in the future, because the Brian Pillman tribute act, great. It's great. And to older people, it'll be nostalgia. But me, I'm always like, what do you bring to the picture? And it's just like, I really don't know what this dude brings to the picture. I'll use Charlotte as an example. She wrestles a way more physical, hard-hitting style than her dad. She throws in the chops and a few of it, but she is much more straightforward style. And she has the natural selection, which is her own move. And then she added a little something to the figure four with the figure eight. It's just like, what is Brian Pillman Jr.'s figure eight? What is his natural selection? How are you different?
Yeah. We then had a small little backstage segment with Chris Jericho and Jake Hager building up to the Rampage match that they're having against Men of the Year. We'll get to that. There was really not a ton of other stuff that they said, besides that they want to snack on some MMA meatheads, which was a nice little line. But we'll move very quickly in to the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black. Cody's first match back, and I want to say a month and a half, I think, since the first Malachi match. I want to say it was either a month and a half or maybe 2 months since that match. But we have to mention first, Cody, welcome to New York City. These people do not like you. And I know Floyd, before we even get into the match itself, I want to go to Floyd. Thoughts on the hostile crowd in New York City, in Queens, New York, and their response to their overwhelmingly supporting Malachi Black and overwhelmingly hating Cody Rhodes.
Ungrateful bastards. That's what I got to say to all of you. I want to make it clear. I see it has become cool to boo Cody. It unfortunately has. He has crossed that line that some faces cross, where it just becomes cool to hate you. And it is cool to hate Cody right now. And Malachi Black, him in the heel role is kind of weird because fans love him. I would say they love him as much as they love like Bryan Danielson. I truly do, because he, in their eyes, was misused in the WWE, and they just want to see him succeed. They don't care if it's at a heel or it's like that emotional thing that we used to have, I would say, in the 80s and 90s, where you actually hated the heels and you and love the faces. That's gone, all but gone. I mean, there's only a few that can really make you hate them. MJF being a god level of it. Kenny Omega to a point, and him and the Young Bucks have done good playing, being heels.
And also, if the story's being presented well, and I think also, too, if the story's being presented well, and if the fans have a lot of trust in the company, they're tending to a lot more of the times like go along with like, okay, we're booing this person, we're cheering this person, like we're being along with the story. It's not always the case because the hardcore fans will still boo and cheer who they wanted to boo and cheer. But if something's really good, like they'll go along with what's being presented. Like the Bucks and Kenny Omega will still get booed if they're facing off against somebody and like it's being presented in a way that the fans are like, oh yeah, hell yeah, let's get along with this.
This won't be a category in our end of the year, but if I had to say worst booking of AEW of the year, it has been Cody for the last 9 months.
I know you be saying that, yes, and I mean but Cody's had a lot of other stuff he's been doing.
No, absolutely, but I'm just saying it literally has taken one of their big feud guys, a guy that really didn't need a belt to be in a big feud. He took one of their big few guys and have literally kind of wasted 9 months of him to me. And to me and to a lot of people, I just like, he had this role in the company. And I'm not talking about having a title. And I don't care if he wins or loses. You know that about me. I don't care if he wins or loses. I just want him to put on entertaining matches and big feuds. Nothing has felt big this year. Can you agree with that, not being a Cody fan?
I'm trying to run through because we had the Malachi. I think. See, it's for me the feud that I remember the most from Cody in the last year has been his feud with Brody.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That ended before 2021. So this 9 months is, even as a person not into Cody, they haven't used him very well. And he might be cycling down because of his other commitments, the baby and all that stuff. But I also think the pregnancy announcement, the gender reveal, all those things made you hate Cody more and more. He got oversaturated and he wasn't doing what Cody does. When is the last memorable good Cody promo? I'm not talking about the America thing that made a whole bunch of people hate him more. I'm talking about that fiery promo that he used to tell when the first company first started. Those fiery promos, you know what I mean? That came from it. It's just that Cody is gone. And this Cody that's being presented, other than me liking Cody, the person, it's kind of sucked. And I'm just gonna say it's kind of the booking. Maybe it's a little performance because this match was not good. There was a lot of just messes up. I don't know if it's messing up. I don't know if Cody's like a ring rust because he's been doing all the other stuff. It just seemed off. Like the beginning when they were just wrestling was great, but towards the middle and the end, it was just like it seemed like he got off track. I'm trying to be as neutral as possible when I'm talking about this. I'm just trying to look at it as a fan, just like, again, I don't need him to win. I didn't need him to win this match. I said he was going to lose this match. But it just wasn't done in an entertaining way. At the end of the match, I was left wanting.
And the end of the match was when Cody got knocked into Arn Anderson. I did like the character move of Arn being like, don't worry about me, focus on Black. Like, focus on Malachi. And then that's when Cody then goes after Malachi. He gets Black mist sprayed into his eyes, and then he gets rolled up, and that's the victory. And Cody loses 2 times now to Malachi Black, which, I mean, like, hey, to the people saying that Cody always wins, like, that's still not the case.
It was never the case, and it's, like, still even more not the case. It's like I said, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story, I guess. It was never the case, but this match was like, okay. And someone's like, oh, they started seeing some of the heel, like overtones when he pushed the referee and when he was working on the leg and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I hope this goes somewhere. Because this seems like the slowest burn in the history of slow burns.
And we've been through the slow burn of MJF turning on Cody.
Yes, and this just is just like, if this is going somewhere, I, as a Cody fan, can't tell where the fuck it's going. And it has only done more, which, again, if they're turning him heel, it works, to ignite the hate versus Cody. Because it's not just his performances. He's booked not well. And I know he's on the booking committee, I guess. It just seems like this is, it just seems weird to me. It just seemed to do nothing but cool him off. And like I said, wherever it's going, I want it to get there fast. If it's going to him taking a go to sleep from CM Punk, let's start that. If it's going to him joining Malachi Black, let's get there. If it's going just full maniacal Homelander face, where he's actually a heel, but he thinks he's a face, let's get there. But wherever the fuck this is going, let's get there.
Yeah, and as with my thoughts on the whole thing, I didn't think the match was bad. I just didn't really have a ton of thoughts going with it. Besides, like I said, the Arn Anderson moment I thought was good, and I was like, oh, we also got to talk about too, like Brandy rolling into the ring, sitting cross-legged, and flipping off Malachi Black. And I think you were the one that was told she came out of the heel tunnel when she came back.
Yeah, because I watched it back because I was trying to get I was trying to get some kind of something from this, I was trying to get something from this match. So I watched it back to try to get something, and I noticed Cody comes out the middle, Arn comes out the face side, Brandy comes out the heel side. And somebody was like, so Brandy could get our own heel entrance, but I'm like, no, the tunnels mean something in AEW. Like, Arn is the angel on his shoulder, and Brandy is the devil on his shoulder.
But I had the thought too with her coming out of that tunnel too, and I was like, do you think it's just because she runs heels?
Yes, maybe. But that middle finger in the middle was heel Brandy. And if you've ever watched Brandy in the matches with Cody, she is a heel. She never plays face. In the Dustin match, she got physical with Dustin first. Just you look through it. She's a heel. And
she had the Nightmare Collective still.
Yeah, and Cody didn't know what the hell she was doing. So I'm just like, maybe Brandy is the reason he goes to the dark side. Maybe Arn's the reason he goes to the dark side. Because Arn was a heel 90% of his career. He only has become face because he is loved as a historical figure in wrestling. But that dude was a bad guy his whole career. So I want to see where it's going. I just, like I said, I want it to get there. And maybe with the match this week, which we will discuss later, I won't even talk about who's in it. But maybe with the match this week, we get further and closer to an end result. And I am going to be the first to say the end result might not be good. I'm trusting AEW that it would, because placing your trust in AEW has been rewarded for the last 2 years, but I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with Cody. Like I said, if it's just going to be like, oh, hey, watch my new TV show as he comes out on Dynamite, or if we get anything more of a development with him. And we'll see, too, if, as we move from town to town, too, if the boos continue. Because, New York is New York. Chicago is Chicago. Those are the towns where we kind of expect, the chipper baby faces to kind of get booed and stuff like that. But if he's getting booed in other cities, too, outside of those two big wrestling towns, I think we have cause for
There was boos in Jacksonville. I want to make sure that was clear. I mean, it was 90% cheers, but there were boos in Jacksonville.
Are you saying worse because by the time that they you found out they were booing, they weren't saying anything because you shut them up?
Well, in my section, I just turned around and stood up and started staring at people. They didn't share, but they didn't boo anymore.
Just imagining Floyd with his red Cody shirt, just standing up and just being like he puts on his best Omos face or whatever, and then just starts death staring into people's eyes if they boo Cody.
Yes, I think I screamed, "We don't do that over here" at one point. Tiffany as my witness. I looked at we don't do that over here.
Oh, I love that. I'm using that anytime someone boos CM Punk. We don't do that over here. I'm using that if someone boos CM Punk. That's okay. Moving on to Floyd's other boys, we have FTR in action as they took on Sting and Darby Allin in tag team action. And Sting and Darby Allin have been having issues with members of the Pinnacle in the past. And Sting's face paint had the red included back into it too, which I thought was dope. This was a really good match too. FTR, I think is genuinely any tag team they go up against, they always work well with them and they always make them look incredible. Sting still is looking very strong, very good in the limited amount of appearances we're seeing him in with these tag matches with Darby. And I think that's the best part too, is that Sting, still wrestling into his 60s, still is looking good in these short bursts. And we're not the aura of Sting isn't being tainted with these appearances. And it's not we're seeing an old man who just doesn't have the ability to do it and we're getting sad about it. No, Sting still looks great. Darby Allin is still one of the best in AEW, I will constantly say. I loved especially where Sting had the Scorpion Deathlock on, and then Darby just proceeds to jump and hit a coffin drop on the apron on Cash Wheeler, and like bro just bounced off of him when he hit it. So Sting gets the tap out victory for the team. It was a great match. I will say FTR has been great, and like they're great heel tag teams, and like heel tag teams are being built up to lose. I'm just curious because like honest to God, man, it's like now for Full Gear, I just want FTR versus the Lucha Bros for the tag titles. Can we have that? Because I would really like that.
Well, let me say this. FTR is the greatest tag team walking God's green earth, and this match further proved it. 60-year-old Sting, 62-year-old Sting looked great. He didn't look great for a 62-year-old. He looked great for a wrestler. Darby Allin's always great. You know I'm on the Darby hype train. I'm nowhere near the lead of it. I'm somewhere in the middle to the back because I jumped on really late. But I am on the Darby Allin is amazing train. So adjective about Darby Allin because that dude is just amazing. So Sting looked great. Cash and Dax did their thing. I thought Dax was especially good in this match. He took a lot of offense, did a lot of the selling, was the guy that ended the tap. But that moment when Darby crashed down on Cash's back, oh my God, it was great. Understand, and this goes to again, I am not one of those fanboys that need my team to win every time. FTR was amazing tonight. On Wednesday. They were amazing, and I loved it, and I had no problems with this match. I had no problems with the result. I have a fundamental problem in tag team wrestling where I think you're building the greatest tag team division ever. I think established tag teams should beat makeshift tag teams. I should think that should be like an AEW calling card, but I get it. It's Sting. It's New York. Great pop. I get why they did it, but yeah, I'm always going to be established tag team guy. It has nothing to do with FTR versus Sting and Darby or whoever they're wrestling. I just think the teams that work together all the time should beat teams that are just kind of thrown together. Sting and Darby have consistently worked together, so I think that is another point against me in this match, but it was a great match. I thought they did everything they were supposed to do. I mean, like, was it a 5-star match? No, but I think it was a perfect match for what these two could do.
All right, and then the main event was the AEW Women's World Championship match between the world champion Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and for her first, I think this was her first solo match in AEW, Ruby Soho. And this was a very good, very, very good main event. And I genuinely thought that Ruby Soho would be the one that go out on top, and she would just start straight out with the AEW Women's Champion. We'd kind of get Britt Baker away from the title so she could chase a little bit more. But it was not the case. Ruby Soho loses against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. I think. See, I saw exactly why I was so high on Ruby Riott back in WWE, because when I saw the Riott Squad wrestle at WrestleMania 37, 37. When I saw them wrestle at WrestleMania 37, and they were like the only actual women's tag team in the match, I was locked into them because they were the only actual tag team in the match at Mania. But at the same time, too, it's like they worked so well. And I see that in Ruby Soho once again now that she's in AEW, and with her going up against Britt. I think this was a good match. I gotta make sure I stop distracting myself anytime I see Jamie Hayter on screen, but I'll get to that point. But yeah, Britt Baker retains the title. Ruby Soho does not get the win. I don't think this hurts. If people are thinking like, oh, well, Ruby's dead on arrival. No, we're not even, that conversation isn't even a thing. But I will say, I mean, that's a big win for Britt Baker's title run, is just taking out the newly acquainted Ruby Soho that's like hot off of the debut at All Out. I think that adds to her title reign a ton. So it's not even like the decision I disagree with. I just thought they were going to go with Ruby Soho, and I was just wrong. And I'm not going to get mad because I was wrong. But I'll get a little butthurt because it wouldn't have been cool if I was right. But this was a very strong main event, I think. It's pretty good. But again, I don't think anything was going to top the opening match, though. So that's just all we can say, really. It's just that opening match, man. It's just fucking hell.
This match was very solid. They worked well together. I think they very much left some things in the tank. I think they got a bigger match at a pay-per-view one day that they'll do. But I think this was a great, second match for Ruby Soho, and I just
because Ruby was in the 6-woman match.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah. So I think she has. I think there's more there, and I think there's more depth, and I think it's a feud you can come back to, and it's great. I mean, Britt needed some wins, and someone that's new to the company that, as she said, been sitting in catering for a year and a half, and believe me, if that didn't kill her career, and people were still yelling her name in Chicago 10 minutes before she came out, I don't think losing to the top star in AEW is going to kill her momentum.
Not at all. No,
yeah, she didn't. She didn't lose a match on Dark. You know what I mean? She lost it. She's been here 2 months and has main evented a Dynamite.
Yeah, and a Dynamite that included Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson.
I mean, there's many ways you can look at things, but to even think that this somehow buried Ruby Soho, I believe your head's up your ass. I mean, yes. I'm just gonna flat out say it. Be mad at me if you want. There's no way this killed her. I mean, she's hot. She's hot right now. People love her. And she can either continue with the next person in this feud or she can go somewhere else. I just think they have something in Ruby Soho. People like her. People like her. That's the whole thing. People like her right now. Maybe even in a year you can turn her heel, but not in the next 3 to 6 months because it's almost like Malachi Black. People like the person so much, it's really sometimes hard to boo them. And it's just especially when you think, man, you were way more talented than your position dictated where you came from. People really want them seen in a position. She main evented a Dynamite 2 months into the show. That's her being in the position that a lot of people believe that she should be in. This was a really good match. Definitive win for
Sports is about peak performance, and Audible has ways to enhance yours. Check out the end of this episode for more details.
Britt Baker, DMD, probably the hottest act in AEW right now. I'm talking about that's been here. I'm not talking about the new people getting the new people pop. I'm talking about the hottest act in AEW is Britt Baker. That's why I say there would have been booking malpractice, in my opinion, for her to lose. She's got a lot more shirts to sell.
Yes. And that was AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, just an absolutely insane show, and we continue Grand Slam week with AEW Rampage, and we'll just move real quick right into Rampage. That show kicked off with CM Punk's first TV match in over 7 years as he went one-on-one with Powerhouse Hobbs and Hook on the side, and I especially love the flip middle finger that Punk gave to Hook, and then proceed to do the little fish hook move, which he did that one time when he was because I love how now Punk's back and he's there. The old videos of Punk screaming at fans, I'm finding those again on YouTube. The one where he was screaming at a fan, "You have a vagina." Just finding those old videos kill me. But regardless, Punk is back in a TV match in pro wrestling, and he's got the trunks back. People that were screaming about the long pants for CM Punk, you got the trunks. And then Punk posts on Instagram, people complaining about me possibly bringing back the pants, and he used the goofy "I'll fucking do it again" meme. And I love the way that this man just goes after some fans. This was a great opening match. Punk really showed how much he still has left in the tank with being able to go up against, because we saw him wrestle a smaller, faster, more agile wrestler in Darby Allin at All Out. But now we actually saw him wrestle a more bigger, if you want to make a term, like, I guess, superstar-sized wrestler in Powerhouse Hobbs, like a lot more of a bigger person that, like, a lot of times the more agile stuff, for the most part, because Powerhouse Hobbs is still very quick, very agile, very athletic, not taking anything away from that. But in those cases, a lot of time, Punk is used to, like, taking a lot of, like, leeway in leading the match for that kind of stuff. But this was really good. I mean, we know Punk's experience with wrestling big, hurdy guys, and it's not normally great. But these guys did great. Punk, in his interactions with the Team Taz members, has been really good. Powerhouse Hobbs beat the shit out of Punk for like a good, like 5 or 6 minutes of the match. So Hobbs got a ton of momentum and offense in this match. Punk did a really, really good job. At one point, he got busted open. I think it was from like one of the tackles that Hobbs did. So it was just a nice little image there. Punk used a little bit of submission work in this match. He then after Hook inadvertently gets knocked down by Powerhouse Hobbs, gets put up, GTS, he goes to sleep, and Taz just like, oh, he got lucky, we had a mishap. But Punk is wrestling on television again, and I love it. And this was my match of the night, because of course it fucking was.
Taz is the most unique manager figure in wrestling right now, or ever. I've never seen a manager or a coach of a team not go to the ring with his opponents. I mean, like,
well,
with his
Callis will go on mic
sometimes, but usually someone, and it's just weird because I think Taz kind of started it, and Callis kind of went along with it after, and it's just something unique and specifically kind of AEW. It's like, I am your coach. I am going over film with you. We come up with a game plan, but when it comes to what happens in the ring, hey, that's all you. I'm not jumping in there and choking people out or tripping them. You just wrestle that way. I just think it's unique. I think it's cool. CM Punk. I mean, I really can't. It's really, really hard to follow you after talking about CM Punk.
I try not to. I try to read some stuff for you, but I can't stop talking about it.
Exactly. It's just like CM Punk's really good. I mean, he's amazing. This match, he helped Hobbs step up a level. I think he did bring Hobbs up a level, which is his goal. I think he brings the whole act of Taz up a level just by working with him. I mean, yeah, he's CM Punk. He knows he's a star.
Like, think about how many people want to see like Punk versus Hook. Like, think about that. It's like you would think like the people that people would be like leaning towards with Team Taz would be like, oh, maybe we'll like Powerhouse Hobbs, of course, is one of them. But then it's like, oh, Ricky Starks is like one of the guys. Hook is the one that's getting a lot more of like we want to see Punk wrestle Hook.
Well, because Hook is the unknown commodity, and wrestling fans, as you all know, are obsessed with the unknown commodity. They want to see if Hook can go. And they don't want to see if Hook can go on Dark. They want to see if Hook can go with CM Punk. Can you make Hook in one match? Can CM Punk make Hook in one match?
My answer would be yes, he can.
Of course that's what your answer would be. I mean, hey, my answer is we'll see. And it's not because I'm not a CM Punk fan. It's just I've never seen Hook actually wrestle.
Yeah.
He might suck. He might be terrible. I'm not saying he is, but I'm just saying there is a scenario, there is a universe, there is a way where Hook is not very good at wrestling. So I'm just going to say, we'll see. And I'm excited if they want to do CM Punk and Hook first. I think that would be like one of the best ever first matches ever. I don't want to see him on Dark. I don't want, like they did with Anthony Ogogo. They had him punch people in the stomach a couple of weeks before he got to Cody. And I just like, man, to me, it took away the mystique of Anthony Ogogo. It was just like, dude, his first match, he just shows up. He shows up, fucking punches Cody in the face, pins him, and walks away. That would have been a debut, right? But now it's just like, so we're in the situation where it's like you got this chance with Hook, and it's just, I hope he's great. I hope he's great. I hope people, wait and save the energy. But I don't know if that's the one I want. I'm very much more excited about CM Punk and Ricky Starks. I just think Ricky Starks has been, taken care of, and he is the face of Taz's team because he has the FTW belt. Maybe we get CM Punk and Brian Cage versus Team Taz, which will give Brian Cage kind of a rub because I feel like he's kind of a forgotten entity in the AEW. He like came in to build a deal. They did the thing with Ricky Starks, and now it's like, does he still work there? Because really, I haven't seen him on TV in weeks. So there you go. I mean, there's a lot that can go into this. Anybody with Punk is going to be looked at better. But, I think Punk should start giving some people on his side the rub. Maybe team up with some people and give them the rub that way.
And I think we're going to get to that point, too. I think it's just because Punk's been here only for a short period of time. It's like, if he keeps losing, it's like the thing with Cody. It's like, if he always loses to build up stars, it won't mean anything. So it's the same sort of thing. It's like, he's got to beat some people. And if he's beating heels, like, they can take losses more so than if he's beating baby faces all the time. So, like I said, I think we're going to get to the point where Punk is genuinely going to be one of the key factors in making a lot of people that aren't massive commodities in AEW, make them become that. And I will also say, speaking of a go-go, did you see that he's trying to fight Jake Paul?
No, Jake Paul would never let that happen.
I would say you probably don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, I understand what Jake Paul's doing, and for all the people that enjoy it, definitely. But he's an Olympic boxer. I don't care if you put 18-ounce gloves on him. He's going to knock you out.
Yes. No fucking question.
And it won't take long. And because he's been fighting his whole life. He has been boxing his whole life.
Well, if anybody wanted to see the Jake Paul story get ended, that's the guy who would happen against. But
I don't even.
Jake's not even going to take that fight.
It's just, I don't even think it would be entertaining because he would embarrass him on such a level that you would start feeling bad at Jake Paul for getting the shit beat him.
I underestimate how much some people hate the Paul.
I'm just like, like to me, it's like when you just said that. The reason it works is he fights short, old guys. He fights old guys that he has an 8-inch reach advantage on. He's in the best shape of his life. They're literally winding down on shape, and it puts on an entertaining fight. Anthony Gogo is still very much, even with his eye injury, in his prime. So he would murder him. It would not be fun. It would not be pretty. It would be Rocky IV, but this time the good guy would win.
Yes, and then the bad guy would die. But anyways, we had a short backstage segment with Thunder Rosa talking about how she's not afraid of Jade Cargill or Nyla Rose. That was just a real quick thing. We then get to, though, the debut of AEW with the Super Click in action. Adam Cole, baby, teaming up once again with the Young Bucks, facing off against Christian Cage and Jurassic Express after what happened on Dynamite in the fallout of the Kenny Omega-Bryan Danielson match. The moves in this were all over the place. Dude, like I don't even think we saw Adam do a ton in this match. And it was still just insanely fun to see him in the ring with the Bucks again. And like I said, I think out of everybody in that ring, I think he did the least in the match. Because I think they're really doing their best to save Adam Cole with a lot of the stuff. They debuted the t-shirt. They had him in the ring and do the kiss spot once again. But I don't think Cole did a ton of offense in the match because most of it was done by like Jurassic Express and Christian and the Bucks. And I think they're really doing a best. Like, of course, like the finish came with the Bucks hitting the BTE trigger and then Cole getting that knee right across the face and getting the pin. But for the most part, he didn't do a ton because I think they're just he's saving a lot for himself too when he has his first singles match, which it's really looking like it's going to be Jungle Boy. And I'm just like, let's fucking go. Like if you want a money match, that is a money match.
I mean, yeah, it's absolutely a money match. I just want to keep reminding people how awesome Luchasaurus is.
Oh my God, yes.
Just don't forget it. I mean, I understand, he's kind of the second in the act with Jungle Boy, but good Lord.
He choke-slammed a buck onto another buck.
I think they could heat him up. I mean, as long as Miro's champion or whatever, I think they could heat him up for a TNT. I just think that would be a hell of a match. Miro versus Luchasaurus, even though Luchasaurus...
And if you want someone believable to take it off of Miro, I think that's 100% a guy you could go with.
Yeah, so Luchasaurus is just... I really thought everybody in this match is great. The Young Bucks are phenomenal. I mean, we got this greatest tag team of all time conversation talking. You already know where I'm standing, but I mean, the Young Bucks are 1A. You know what I mean? They're right there. I mean, the one thing I'll go to Young Bucks is like they might not be my favorite tag team, but I've never not liked the match. I've never come away from the Young Bucks match, any match where it was just like, oh, that was just a match. Their matches are amazing all the time. They understand how to tell a story. So in this match, everybody was amazing. I'm not taking anything from anyone. I just thought when watching it on that first view, I felt like Luchasaurus shined the most in this match.
I can 100% agree. Like I said, just the simple spot of him taking one Young Buck and chokeslamming the other Young Buck on top of them.
Yes.
Was such a fucking cool spot.
And then him taking the Panama Sunrise. It was just...
Yeah, he was literally like... The image of like someone on their head just standing straight up, like not using their hands, like they're just piked and their head's going down the floor and they're just standing straight up. That was him.
Yes, I tell people all the time, this shit's a dance. You know, people don't look good unless the other person helps them look good. You know what I mean? And I just thought both sides, his offense and his selling, I thought Luchasaurus was really good in this match.
There's a reason why, like, Luchasaurus got some of the biggest responses in the original Casino Battle Royale at the first Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
No one has ever forgotten how good Luchasaurus is. And I think rewarding him with the TNT title championship run would be fucking great.
But you got this match where there's, like, 4 people that are, like, nuclear over. So it's like, oh, you can kind of, like, forget the giant dinosaur face guy right there. It was like, that dude was awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
We then move on to the Men of the Year with American Top Team's Dan Lambert at their side, facing off against the team of Chris Jericho and Jake
My
Hager.
favorite segment of the night.
All right. Well, this match was once again another good tag match, and the match was finishing off because Jericho was going to go over the top rope. He dove over the top rope, and Jake Hager was gonna slam Scorpio Sky, but then Dan Lambert grabs his leg, gets distracted. Then Jake Hager gets rolled up and pinned for the victory. So it was a good tag team match, like a nice kind of calm down, I think, a little bit from the spot fest that was the 6-man match that we had just came from. But then we saw Dan Lambert stick his American Top Team fellas, and we saw them get physical. We had Junior Dos Santos, Austin Vanderford, Andrei Arlovsky, Dalton Rosta, Jorge Masvidal, and Paige Van Zandt all in the ring, causing havoc to Jericho and Hager. They just all, like, Paige was nailing Jericho in the stomach with body shots. Masvidal got a running knee. Like, every single one of these MMA people were just going off on Jericho and Hager. And now Dan Lambert and his American Top Team, like, he can literally just call any of his MMA people to just show up and beat up on wrestlers. And, like, bro, it's like he's formidable. He's not just a loudmouth. He's got a whole slew of fighters at his side. And then, like, if you want to get to Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, try getting through Masvidal or Junior Dos Santos. Try getting through those people. Like, good luck. Like, you're gonna have trouble getting through. Like, I agree. I know Floyd's gonna go on with this too, but Dan Lambert and his American Top Team, like, they kicked ass in this segment. This was really good, and Jericho and Hager are the perfect guys that can really sell this moment because they're already inner circle members. They've done so much. Like, taking this big spot doesn't hurt them. Like, it makes it believable too, because Jericho just came off of the massive feud with MJF, and Hager's an MMA person. So if he wanted to do anything MMA related, fucking have a fight with any of them.
Dude, like, all the stuff that happened on this week, I'm like, this was my favorite. I mean, of course, other than the Omega Danielson match, because this made AEW feel like the hot product. You know what I mean? They're already the hot product, but these people are under contract. Some of these people are under contract with other fight groups. They generally don't allow them to get physically involved when it comes to wrestling with AEW. The reason they allow them to show up and get physically involved because they believe AEW, raises the views, that people know who these people are because they're on AEW. AEW's hot, so it gives these people the rub. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
AEW 6 months to a year ago, none of these people get physically involved. Right now, where it's at, oh, absolutely. Paige Van Sant landing the punches on Jericho. I mean, if I'm Tony, I'm giving her a call. I'm like, dude, you sure you don't want to train to wrestle? Because she has the energy about her, She's a ham, And, how she makes her money mostly, on the content with Patreons and stuff like that. Wrestling's only going to, build up her profile. Jorge Masvidal, I knew he wasn't going to do anything. He's just there. He's all dressed up. He's not going to get involved. He throws that.
Like when we saw Amanda Nunes, we were like, oh hey, there's like our little like Ronda Rousey-esque like MMA person that's over in AEW to give them a boost. It's like we never thought they would ever get involved in anything, like any of these people, like Junior Dos Santos, former UFC heavyweight champion, like Cain Vasquez showed up in WWE and stuff like that, and he got physical, and then like that was a thing. But it's WWE, like stuff like that can happen. We didn't think anything like this would happen with AEW.
He threw that knee, and I literally jumped out of my chair. Friday night, my wife's looking at me like I'm effing crazy because as far as a fighter, Jorge Masvidal, I'm a bit of a fan. I'm not big in the UFC, but that knockout of Ben Askren, it got me on his side. He the BMF. The Rock raises your hand, calls you a BMF. You're always a BMF. In my eyes, forever. So he threw that knee, and it was just like they stood over. It raised the profile of Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page to a completely different level. And I don't know what their plans for going forward. They should go all in. When somebody from American Top Team has a fight and Lambert's there, Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky should be there wearing American Top Team gear.
I was going to say,
yes.
Go both ways with this.
Do a Men of the Year shirt with the American Top Team logo on the back. Just go all the way in on it. And eventually when you breaking them up, Scorpio and Ethan start losing, and Dan Levert's like, I don't associate with losers. And that's when Dan Levert's gone. He can do that. I'm like, this whole thing is played out like perfectly over something they didn't plan to happen. Dan Lambert actually interviewed and said, I thought I was only going to do one appearance. He thought it was going to end with Lance Archer just dropping him. That was how it was going to end. And Tony Khan was like, I love that. Come back. And it has turned into this. And Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky very much in a high-profile feud. I don't know where this goes, but I'm looking forward to it. Like some things, and I don't know where it's going. I'm like, where is this going? This one, I'm like, I'm willing to wait. I'm going to let it play out because I'm so into what they're doing right now.
Yeah, and it does nothing but good stuff for Scorpio and Ethan, who have already, they've been shown in good stuff, in their feud with Darby Allin, but, like them and all these MMA guys just beat up on Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. They just beat up on, Jericho and just ripped him to shreds, and, all these MMA guys beat up on MMA fighter Jake Hager. So, this does nothing but good stuff for Men of the Year, I think. So, yeah, this was great. We then move on, though. We had an 8-man tag match between the Lucha Bros and Santana and Ortiz. The boys in New York City got a massive pop, and they took on Hardy Family Office members, Private Party, and the Butcher and the Blade. Again, another big match of just crazy amounts of moves. There was a point where literally all 4 members of the Lucha Bros and Santana and Ortiz are diving over the top. It was an awesome image. And the babyfaces came out on top, and Santana and Ortiz gets a win in New York, honestly. I mean, like, it makes sense. And, like, Hardy Family Office, like, their feud is kind of elsewhere at this point in time, like with Orange Cassidy and stuff like that, which we'll get to. But also, like, during this match, too, we saw that, too, with Matt Hardy was going to cut the hair of, I want to say it was Ortiz. I can't remember. He was going to cut he was going to cut Ortiz's hair. Orange Cassidy comes down. He knocks out Jack Evans, who's at ringside. And then Matt Hardy then has to take Jack Evans backstage to check on him. So first off, Matt Hardy's thing for cutting off people's hair, not just Orange Cassidy, is a bit odd, but you know what? I will get behind it. And I'll talk about what happened backstage after this match. But the match itself was very good. Like, I still prefer the 6-man match with the Super Click and Jurassic Express and Christian, just because, like, it just, like, everyone in that match was nuclear over. And not saying that nobody in this wasn't, but, like, again, like, multi-man matches, like, if I'm going to get into a multi-man match, like, the Super Click and Lucha and Jurassic Express in them, like, that's the crowd's way more into that, I think. But again, the Lucha Bros as tag team champions is amazing. Santana and Ortiz had an amazing reaction in New York City, and Hardy Family Office, like, Private Party's still damn good, and Butcher and Blade are still very good. So this was a very good multi-man match.
Yes, this was a great match. Matt Hardy, I mean, I love the idea that he is so dad and he is so uncool that he wants to do whatever he can to make Orange Cassidy uncool, which one of the things that makes Orange Cassidy cool is his amazing hair. So he wants to chop that shit off so Orange Cassidy's not cool and he loses confidence. And he's even willing to put Jack Evans' hair up against him, which I love Jack Evans' hair, but hey, you know what? You know, hair's there today. It'll grow back. But the match was great. I love having Big Butch back. That's a big thing for me. It was like I actively miss Butcher. The Blade without Butcher, it's Butcher and the Blade. It's Butcher and the Blade. You know what I mean? So I like them being back together. And I just thought this was a very solid match. Did everything. The New York boys got the pin, which is awesome. And, I think this is clearly leading to Proud and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz, whatever you want to call them, versus the Lucha Bros.
Which will be a fucking awesome match.
And hopefully it happens at Full Gear.
Yes. We then had the backstage interview immediately following up on this match where Matt Hardy was interviewed after checking up with Jack Evans, and he said Orange Cassidy is pissing him off. I challenge him to a hair versus hair match. And if you accept, it will be Jack Evans' hair on the line. And he's like, bro, like, what the fuck? So that was a nice little thing. So we're not getting Matt Hardy putting his hair on the line. It's Jack Evans' hair who's getting put on the line. So Jack Evans, you've been set to die. Sorry about that. I mean, like, your hair is a little bit nappy and, like, crazy. So, like, I guess just you need a haircut, I guess. So I'm sorry about that.
Yes, he's, going to be super bald.
Yes. We then had Sammy Guevara come out with Fuego del Sol trying to do his typical, like, hey, look at my cue cards, before Miro just walks slowly stands behind them, and then beats the shit out of Fuego and Sammy Guevara and just knocks them off the stage and puts the game over on Sammy.
He chunked Fuego off the stage.
Fuego went flying.
And off the stage. I mean, and then, that was... I feel
Sammy,
bad for them.
I'm sorry, man. I love you, but that's what happens when you touch, I guess, basically, if you touch Miro's Goldie. Like, that's what happens if you touch that. It just, you're going to get hurt. But I still want you to win the title, so just don't die.
Absolutely. Don't die. No, it was great. It built up the Miro versus Sammy feud. Added some juice to it. Also, if you listen to the show, you probably already doing it, but check out Sammy's vlog. The last minute or two, he cuts a promo about everything that has led up to this match for the TNT title.
I think he also posted it on Instagram too, and it was really, really freaking good.
Yeah, watch the whole vlog. Support Sammy.
Yeah, and subscribe to the vlog. Yes,
subscribe, like, all that good stuff. It's a great vlog. I really do. I mean, actually, a lot of times, a lot of episodes have been more entertaining than BTE to me. I don't think, they don't care. It's all in the family. But I'm just saying, if you watch BTE every week, make sure you're watching Sammy's vlog.
Yes. I still will never get over the time where he tried to rib the Young Bucks over breaking the BTE championship.
Tried to. He did it. They were like, what?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, that's the thing, though. It's like that he did break it, and then, like, oh, no, the real one's over here.
Yes, that was hilarious. It's like I cut it in half. That was great.
I was just going to be like, oh, I'm joking, man. I'm just like, what the fuck you mean?
Absolutely.
But we then had Anna Jay of the Dark Order facing off against super bad Penelope Ford. And I gotta say, when this match started going on, and like we ended up getting the spot where Penelope Ford gets caught, with the referee's distracted, the bunny throws her the knuckle duster and she hits Anna and gets the win. Because the match wasn't too long. It didn't kind of like go for long enough to have a massive opinion on the match. It was fine, I think. But I was kind of like, wow, we're really having Anna lose to Penelope. I'm like,
oh, you brought me so much. The theme, I forgot this. I typed this on the AT Elite Pod or mine Twitter. I don't remember which one. Faces have no friends. The next two segments after Jericho and Hager get beat up is literally the next segment is Santana and Ortiz that did not come out to help him. Then the segment after that is Guevara to come out to help him. All right, and then. Okay, halfway through the match, the bunny comes out. The bunny before, but Ty Conti waits till the match is over.
Yeah.
Oh my! I'm like, I have no hair, and I was ready to pull it out. This makes no sense. I'm like, at least say they were getting ready for the match, like the announcers say. I guess it's just a detail that bothers me, but it probably doesn't bother other people. But just say, hey, they were getting ready for the match and they missed what happened. And have Jericho and Hager get out there and like, dude, what happened? And they kind of tell them or something. Because they just seem like really shitty friends.
Yeah. Well, continuing on what happened after the match. Yeah.
No, it's a complete Floyd thing. I posted on like every group I'm in. No one has my back, so I know it's a complete. It is a complete me thing. It makes no sense to me and me only. Everybody else is just the accepted part of wrestling. I understand, but again, when people ask why do you always root for heels, heels always have each other's back.
The baby faces do not, but. After Tay Conti does try to run out after the match is already over and tries to help, she also gets knocked with the brass knuckles. The Hardy family office then proceeds to block off the ring completely, and that's when Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander walk out, and they kind of look at the wall of Hardy family office members and just goes, hang on a minute. And then the Dark Order members walk out of Cole Cabana, John Silver, and all in the other, like 5, 10 and all them. And then when all of them are out, Stu Grayson and Evil Uno eventually just show up at the same time. And then for a moment, Anna Jay has inadvertently brought the Dark Order back together. And they chase off the Hardy family office. They chase off all of them. And they protect Tay Conti and Anna Jay. And eventually, I believe it was Alex Reynolds who offered the hand to shake with Evil Uno to try to just let this go and just reform and be the Dark Order in full together. But Uno walks away as he's not ready to just let things go. And then Stu Grayson falls behind. I think for a moment it looked like he was going to try to get him to turn behind, and then they just ended up walking away again. So Cabana, Silver, Reynolds, 5 and 10 are just left in the ring as the two basically starting members of the Dark Order walk away.
I know they're not going to do this, and I just want to make this clear. I know they're not going to do this, but I would love for all of them to get together and just elect Anna the new leader. That would just be awesome. Like, I think it can do something to elevate her character. And I think she's pretty good on the mic and pretty good at talking. And she has that angry attitude. And, promote from within inside is what I say. I've heard the Wyatt rumors. I've heard those. And I was just like, I just think it would better. I think the storyline would be better with Anna Jay. And this is like, I'm not this like overwhelming Anna Jay fan. If I had a favorite Dark Order member, it would be John Silver. John Silver and Stu Grayson are my two favorite members. I just think she has that energy, and it just like to put a woman at the lead of the Dark Order would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like, that would be a hell of a thing right there.
And yeah, I'm just like I said, I'm like
being honest with ourselves. -1 runs the Dark Order.
-1.
He needs to show up and really like put the fear in God in all of these guys.
Exactly. Even if like he picks her, that would be so cool. Whoever
that genuinely would be cool.
Yeah, like you're the leader, you know, that kind of thing. And it's just like I love the Dark Order. I love -1, but I just think. Kind of like Cody, they're kind of directionless right now, and they need a direction.
It's simply just because like Hangman took time off, and I think if Hangman comes back and then he officially becomes the leader of the Dark Order, I think that would be cool.
Oh, absolutely, they're the hottest act in wrestling if he does that.
Yeah, but as of this time when he's not there and he's taking time off, like yes, the Dark Order's kind of just been left directionless because like. Their whole direction was going along with Hangman. And then, like, now that that's kind of stopped because of him being away, like, yeah, they just kind of had put this together of them having issues while Hangman hasn't been there to be kind of the glue.
And it's a perfect storyline. If Hangman is what brings them together, that's the perfect storyline.
It is.
I still, like, I will never get over that entrance, those entrances when they went 5-on-5. It was, to me, the best entrance, you know, other than CM Punk walking down, which he didn't really need any special fanfare. He was just CM Punk. But other than that one, I think that one's been the best entrance this year.
Yes. We then finished things out with the lights out match between Mad King, Eddie Kingston, and Jon Moxley versus Suzuki Goon with Minoru Suzuki and Murder Hawk Monster Lance Archer. First off, I got to mention, it's a little nitpick. The lights going off was a bit of an issue. It seemed like because normally it just stays black for like 5 seconds and then we come back. It was kind of like on, off. On, off. On, off. I was just like, someone's got to make sure those lights actually stay off so that way it makes more sense for the whole lights off angle. Regardless, this was a good closing match, honestly. I thought like they really let Suzuki Goon beat up on Eddie and John for a majority of the match, which then led to especially when Eddie came back to life and really helped bring things back a little bit. With Eddie being in New York too, like he was going off and the crowd was loving it. The trash can lid was brought in. These guys were beating the shit out of each other. Kingston went through a table. Eventually, Eddie's about to get slammed onto 2 chairs, and fucking Homicide shows up. That was like the last person I thought would show up. Like, yes, he's a New York wrestler. I did not expect to see Homicide come through the crowd and then free Jon Moxley and then proceed to beat up on Suzuki and Lance Archer. And then the match finishes with Kingston literally putting Lance in the trash can, taking a kendo stick and just hitting it over and over and over and over and over again. And that's the finish. Hey, it makes sense. He basically won by KO if we're talking 2K rules. And the show finishes with Homicide, Moxley, and Kingston in the middle of the ring in New York City. Which, hey, considering that's the closing moment of GrandSlam, and I mean, like, Dynamite's going to be taking place in Rochester. We're still going to be in New York for this week's Dynamite. Yeah, I mean, that's a damn good way to just be like, hey, AEW's in New York. Here's Homicide. Because, like, what the fuck? It literally blew me away. I'm like, what is fucking Homicide doing here?
Dude, this match was a fight. It was violent. I loved it. Minoru Suzuki being on my TV is like my favorite thing. Like some of the fans didn't get to him, but when he took the slap and laughed at him, you can tell that everybody got behind him. It was such a good strike exchange. Man, Homicide, and just like everybody in New York knew the fuck Homicide was. All you had to do was put up Homicide on the ramp, and everybody went crazy. It was a great moment. It was how you ended that show. I'm telling you, like, I imagine these fans were still excited. And this match was recorded on Wednesday after they had already had 2 hours of Dynamite. They did had another hour and a half, 2 hours of wrestling. And this crowd felt as hot at the beginning of the show as they did at the end. I commend everybody that was in that crowd in Queens. I am so jealous I wasn't there. I'm so happy that the fans came to support and show out AEW. Even Jim Cornette, who I do not bring up his name on the show very often for obvious reasons, said AEW looked like a major production.
Yeah, and I think I
think his like brain and heart burned a little bit saying those words.
And I think like just the fact, like I said, like without there's really no other way to say it. Like pro wrestling came back to New York City, just saying that like a 20,000 person venue was sold out in New York City for a wrestling promotion that wasn't WWE. Just that thought alone is insanity. Like, yes, we had the MSG show with Supercard show with New Japan and Ring of Honor. Yes, of course. Like, that was insanity when that happened too, and nothing taking away from that show either, because that was huge too when it happened. But I mean, like, this wasn't even MSG, and it was still sold out in New York, and it was AEW. Like, that's just massive.
Absolutely. 20,000 people. Little ratings talk. Tony Khan, thank you. Thank you, wrestling fans, who helped make AEW Dynamite the number one show on cable last Wednesday for a fifth straight week. AEW Rampage, the number one show on cable on Friday for the first hour and number 4 for the second hour. Again, he just said Dynamite's back tomorrow. Accordingly, I'll address you all again at midnight. But number one show on Wednesday and Friday. You literally can't ask for anything more out of Dynamite. I kept saying it was going to be 2 million. The reason I said it was going to be 2 million, I was wrong. I want to say that first. But the reason I said it was going to be 2 million, I did not take into the fact that new TV started last week. I just didn't. I was so in my AEW world, I didn't even think about the fact that The Masked Singer and all the new Wednesday shows would be back.
Yes.
People like their shows. Don't get me wrong. And a lot of times,
like their shows.
A lot of times, if you're not on Twitter and social media, you can easily record AEW and just watch it later. I'm that way with TV shows. I don't really follow any TV shows on Twitter, like at all. So I don't ever have to be worried about being spoiled when I don't DVR something. I can just watch it later and it's not that big a deal. But I live such in the wrestling world. If I'm even 30 minutes behind, I generally know what's going to happen on the next 30 minutes unless I just close out of social media.
Yes. But that was AEW Rampage fully wrapping up AEW GrandSlam week. What a week it was, really. I think it really did live up to the hype that was AEW GrandSlam that they were building with everything that was put on that card. Like when it was just announcement after announcement after announcement. Like I think it really did live up to it. But we've still got a little bit of preview to talk about before we close things out. Let's just really quickly go to our preview for AEW Dynamite taking place as we're recording this tomorrow in Rochester, New York. We have Matt Sydal and Dante Martin facing off against Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson in tag team action. We have Jungle Boy and Adam Cole going at it in a one-on-one match, which is going to be insanity. Penelope Ford and the Bunny will be teaming up against TJ, Anna Jay, and Tay Conti. And the TNT title match will be taking place between Miro and Sammy Guevara.
Yes, when it comes to this one, I'm very excited about the Cody match because it just seems random. Like, this is a random... it's Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson. I didn't put it on the notes, but...
I announced it, yeah. So.
Yeah, so, no, I just read that I didn't put it on there. And it just seems like such a random tag match that has nothing to do with anything. And I just, Cody might snap. Adam Cole and Jungle Boy. I don't know. Them and Miro versus Sammy G, they're going to be battling for match of the night. It looks like they're going to add at least 1 or 2 matches before the end of the show. But the question I came up with, what do you think they will do to celebrate Brody Lee? Sir, do you have any wild speculation? I love wild speculation. You can be wrong. Just throw something out there.
I figured that they would probably put up a video package, honestly. I just assumed that, like, maybe just to either open up the show or in the middle of the show, we do a video package. And then, like, maybe for the TJ match, since Anna Jay and Tay Conti's technically a member of the Dark Order, even though she's not really, like, involved with it because she's friends with Anna Jay. I think it would be cool to have, like, -1 announce TJ to the ring.
Okay, those are cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm big on. I for some reason, in Rochester, I think it's the appropriate place. Again, wild speculation. This comes from nothing. This is only from my fantasy booking. Hangman comes back tomorrow night.
That would be huge. That would be fucking huge.
Like the Bunny and Penelope Ford, HOF comes out, Dark Order comes up, they start infighting, and then you hear the cowboy music hit real hard, and Hangman comes to right the ship.
Or literally they could have a segment of Kenny Omega just screaming like, I don't want a rematch. I don't want a rematch with Bryan Danielson. We're going to have anybody else who wants to face me. I'll even put my title on the line. Anybody else who wants to face me, come down to the ring and let's make this happen. That's when Hangman would show up.
Either way, I just think Hangman's coming back tomorrow based on nothing. I want everybody to know that. I'm clarifying. This is based on nothing. I heard nothing, read nothing. He hasn't posted on social media.
Man.
Wild speculation. If it happens, I'm right and I'm a genius. Okay?
If it doesn't happen, we never talk about it.
Again, because it was wild speculation based on nothing, of course. But yeah, I'm very excited about the show tomorrow. So, I call it right now. Sammy G, new TNT champion or not?
I'm going to say I want it to happen. I don't think it'll happen, but I want it to happen. So to put my utmost faith in my boy Sammy, who I think is a genuine, like, just fucking awesome dude, I will say my support is 100% behind Sammy Guevara. He will be the new TNT champion. Let's fucking go, Spanish God.
I completely agree. I left for the dramatic pause there. I completely agree. I think we're going to get the Spanish guy is going to be the Spanish champ, the homemade champion after Darby Allin. I just think it's time. Sammy Guevara, I would have loved for it to be in Texas, but not every big moment can happen in the person's hometown. I think in Rochester, home of the greatest TNT champion of all time, according to AEW, Sammy Guevara becomes the new TNT champion.
Yes. But that is our preview for AEW Dynamite Rochester. We've got a couple of news and notes that we want to cover before we close out the show. I'll actually take this one because this was one that was reported for the longest time, but it's just been announced like officially. Dynamite is going to be officially moving to TBS. Rampage will be the show that will be sticking on TNT. I think the move is set to go in January, I think was when they said, or was that not? Have they not given a date?
I think they said, I had to make sure it was a Wednesday. January 5th will be the first show on TBS.
That's what I thought. Okay, so yeah, I'm interested to see how much of the fan base changes, like how much of the viewership changes when it moves to TBS. It's just I truly didn't think that the move would happen, and if it did, I kind of figured Rampage would be the show that would be on TBS. It was just kind of my thought process behind it.
They're moving so they don't get preempted. It's just that simple.
Yes, and exactly. They don't want to get preempted with NBA being back. They don't want to have the playoffs get in the way of it. So that way they don't have to keep switching for Saturday Night Dynamite or or yeah, exactly. They just don't want to get prelims. So yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. I don't think the viewership's going to hurt though from the change of the stations. If anything, it might be boosted because I don't know, maybe more people watch TBS or something.
On DirecTV, it's only 2 channels away, so
exactly.
it's
it's not like it's hard to find.
Yes. September 29th, Dynamite in Rochester, which is tomorrow. So this is not going to help you. We were going to record the show yesterday, so it might have helped. You're going to need proof of vaccination. No photocopies. You're going to need that, the accepted actual proof. November 10th, Dynamite, Indiana State Fair at the Indiana Farmers Coliseum. And then Full Gear is officially announced at the Target Center in Minneapolis on November 13th. The official date for tickets for both of these shows is Friday, October 1st. The pre-sale for Full Gear started today and tomorrow, 28th and 29th. I believe the pre-sale for Indianapolis is the normal date, which is Thursday the 30th. So I just wanted to put that all together for people looking for tickets. And this we wouldn't have had yesterday. So I'm kind of glad we waited. Announced on AEW Dark. Tonight, Kyra Hogan has signed with AEW. It was announced by Excalibur. It's weird because you usually get the graphic, right?
Yeah.
You usually get something. And I literally had to check with One Nation Radio's Rich Latta. I'm like, had they announced it and I just missed it? He's like, nope. And I was like, well, they just announced it on Dark. And I was literally, I think I was one of the first people to tweet it out. Like, I don't think, it caught on. It was a throwaway line. Man, that was a big signing for Kyra signing with AEW. And then they just went on to the match. Yeah, so it was weird. It was as weirdly nonchalant I've ever heard a signing announced. So shout out to Kyra Hogan. Congratulations. I really loved her tag team. I really loved her tag team in Impact. Fire and Flavor, I really loved it. I thought I always liked her. I like her energy when she's cutting promos. So I think she adds something different to the women's division because even though she's a good wrestler, she's kind of a promo person, which, you don't have a lot of those in the division. And I think she'll kill it doing that. And that's on Parrot. Yes. I think that's the thing. Is that the thing she says, right?
Something along the line.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a period with a T on the end. Yeah, but that's what it is. Congratulations to Kyra.
Yes, massive congrats. Nice addition to the women's division. I think she'll do very well. But that is going to do it for All Things Elite this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Sorry we were a little late, but we've still got the episode coming to you. And when this comes out, enjoy AEW Dynamite tonight. Make sure you guys continue to download this show on Google or Apple Podcasts. If you listen to us on any other platforms like Spotify or anything, give us a share with your friends, family, coworkers, whoever you wish. Leave a rating, a review. Give us a donation through Red Circle if you're so inclined to. We are at AT Elite Pod on Twitter. At Social Suplex are the guys that make this show possible. Check out all their other shows on their network. I am at Austin Sumowitz, SZUMOWICZ. Floyd is at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. And with that out of the way and everything done, I will now let Floyd take us home on this episode of All Things Elite.
Yes, this week we celebrate the 2-year anniversary of AEW Dynamite. I was fortunate enough to be at that first show. And it was great, and I didn't know what it was going to look like 2 years later, but it's done nothing but grow. So we celebrate AEW. I did put out a tweet early this week asking for your top 5 matches in Dynamite history. If anybody want to throw that out there, I'm going to kind of do a special 30-minute episode. It might even be YouTube only. Where I just talk about some of the biggest matches over the last 2 years. And you literally just go over the list of the ones I've been sent from friends of their top 5 matches and just kind of just celebrate Dynamite. I mean, with it being the 2-year anniversary show, they might do that next week, because that'll be after the 2-year anniversary. But with it being the 2-year anniversary show, I just think, we should acknowledge some of the great matches that happened. Right now, I can just tell you ahead in the lead is Omega versus Danielson from last week. It's just too fresh on everyone's mind, but I think there's a lot of good matches out there, and I'm going to look forward to talking about them. So, with that, for our super successful, silky smooth voice, Austin Sumowitz, this is Floyd Johnson saying, whether you're at home, work, or school, always do your best to be elite.